I was in New Orleans for a work conference. I was early for a dinner, so I was seated at a little table next to the piano for a cocktail before my party came. This man was at the adjacent table and we started talking. Very benign, seemed fine. The waitress came up to him and sternly said, "I know you want to keep talking to this young lady, but if I don't seat you now, you will lose your table." He left and was seated. The waitress came back to me and told me that the man paid for my drink. "That's fine." I said, "Tell him thank you." Minutes later, a waiter came over and told me that he'd like for me to join him since he's dining alone. I told him to tell him thank you, but I'm waiting for my party. I'm seated with my group, and his table is right next to ours, and he is staring the entire time while he is eating. It was unnerving. But okay, maybe he thought I was an escort? IDK. The rest of my party noticed too, and well after he was done eating, he stayed at the table and continued to watch me. Fast forward to the next night, I go meet some friends at a hotel bar to listen to live music. Mind you, this is in a completely separate part of town. New Orleans is huge. I go to the bar to grab a drink and this man is at the bar, again staring at me with almost a disdain. I've had maybe 3 other occurrences in my life where I felt this deep, unsettling feeling. Was he following me? What are the odds we would be in the same place? I had a terrible dream last night that I was stuck in an elevator with this man, but I didn't know it was him, and he found where I lived and tried to break in. It felt like a psychic attack, a deep, unnerving, violating feeling. I've dealt with plenty of creeps, but this was different. Second story. This is a true story that happened to me. I have altered it as that one had a few spelling mistakes and grammar issues. Short backstory. This happened almost a year ago. I'm 19, female, and I live in a small town in Australia. I always take my 13-year-old Jack Russell mix for a short 20-ish minute walk down the road at about 7:30 p.m. On this night, I had to take him at about 8:30 p.m., as I had to work late, and the sun was just setting to the point where I can see but not too well. That could have just been my poor eyesight, but it was enough to manage without needing a flashlight. Although I did have one on me, I just didn't want to use it. We had just made our loop around a small community garden. As I was leaving the gate, I looked to my right and saw a person in all black heading towards me. I was also wearing all black, so we both looked pretty suspicious. But out of panic, I crossed the road and headed left. They did the same not 1 second later. I'm a naturally fast walker, but I made myself go faster. All I had to do was cross the road one more time and turn right, go down a few houses, then lum home. So walking faster, but not enough to where it was obvious. I crossed the road and turned right. This person didn't cross the road, but turned right and stayed on the other side of the road. We were about parallel on the street. I knew that if they crossed, I could run, and I wasn't too far from home. When I got into my yard, the person stopped across the road. At this point, I realized the door was locked and I didn't have a key. The person stayed across the road, so I rang the bell and was pounding on the door. My older brother answered and the person had just made it into our yard. My brother told the person to fuck off and he walked back the way we came. My brother asked who it was and I explained all this to him. From this day, I take my dog for a walk before work, early morning rather than after work. At night, I do enjoy sunset walks, but for my safety, I have stopped, even after a year. Third story. This happened a few weeks ago, and it was so bizarre that I still think about every so often. Anyway, I was babysitting my nieces, 8 and 10, since my sister was going out to meet this other girl at a coffee shop. I offered to babysit my nieces, since her house was nice, and I didn't have anything else to do that night. So I decided why not. At first, we just watched movies and played video games together. Later on into the night, I noticed they didn't eat anything, and so I asked them if they were hungry. They both replied, no, at first. That's when I said, I can make a quesadilla for them, or anything else they want. They still replied, no. When I mentioned pizza, they immediately yelled, yes. Of course they would. Well, bad idea that night. When I called the local Pizza Hut, I ordered 2 large pizzas to be delivered. Keep in mind that I went outside to make this phone call. Quite loudly, I should say, because it was dead silent outside. I only went outside because I noticed a bag on the street, and I thought it was mine or somebody else's. It was just trash when I looked closely at it. I'm assuming this was the neighbor's trash bag. 20 minutes go by and I hear a doorbell ring. It was the Pizza Hut delivery girl. I paid her in cash, and I took the pizzas to the kitchen, where my nieces were eating at. This is when the weird stuff happens. Not even 10 minutes go by and I hear the doorbell ring again. I was skeptical at first and looked out the window. It was hard to see much of anything by this point. He VHS cut and static appeared on the screen. I didn't think anything of it and decided to go to bed. My dreams were weird. I saw Sonny, but he was staring at 2 missing posters on a pole. One poster read, "David Welding Missing." The next one had his parents on it. Sonny turned around and static filled his face. I woke up and it was morning. I went to work, and when I got home that night, I decided to watch episode 2 of Sonny's Neighborhood. The episode was titled, "Accidents Happen." Something was off. It showed Sonny with a shovel, throwing dirt on what looked like a silhouette of a body. Sonny: "Silly, clumsy David, I can't believe you tripped over that rock. Now you can't play with me." The tape abruptly ended, and there was one more episode. It was titled, "Will You Play With Me?" I was really hesitant to watch it, but something was influencing me. I had no choice. It started with Sonny in what looks like a bedroom. Toys on the floor. Sonny's face was filled with static, and he was staring blankly at the screen. Text kept on popping up. "Will you play with me?" and "play with me." Over and over. I had enough, even though I should have stopped at episode 2. I ejected the tape, grabbed the box and the tapes, and threw them in the dumpster outside. The next day, after I got home from work, I heard my VCR running. A familiar voice echoed through my apartment. "Will you play with me?"